Fuel system repairs here today at the shop. Loads of fun, especially with this heat shield in the way. Anyway, I got a defective fuel pump, and well, today we're gonna drop the tank. And I also got a broken fuel, brake line. Mind you, there's a fuel line here that is kind of questionable, now that I mention it. So these ones here are a little tough. You're gonna replace the fuel filter. You're gonna have to do that anyway. You're supposed to do that anyway. But everything else looks good. We got fuel line there. And somewhere in along here we got a damaged brake line, and actually it's fairly corroded. Yeah, right up in towards here, like right here. So I need to, I'm debating, I might end up replacing the whole line from the front to the back on this one side anyway. It goes, loops into here, and then there's a rubber hose on the opposite side which goes to the wheel cylinder. So that's what I'm dealing with right at the moment. I'm just gonna take the straps out because they're in good shape. So we're gonna save these, and you know, we're gonna save those guys because they're in good shape. So there's no sense ordering new straps when we don't really have to. So let's see if I can grab this bolt out of here. That one was actually, it looks like it broke. Did it? No, maybe not. So anyway, the bolts were fairly easy to get off. The car's been undercoated, so it actually was quite easy to get these out. I thought I'd have to manhandle them, but I didn't. So that makes me happy. Of course, the car is sitting really low right now because over the course of the weekend, the tires all went flat. So, gotta love that. But anyway, I'm gonna disconnect the inlet and the vent that goes from the filler cap there all the way to the tank. I already undid the hose clamps for that, so I'm just gonna undo them, and then drop the tank and see what kind of pump I need for this. Apparently there's different diameter pumps. I didn't really know that. And I'm glad I did some research into it. So I have to take the pump out. So I don't have a pump here, so I'll never be able to get the car running today, which is fine. I'm going to utilize time to order the right part. And while I'm waiting for it, I'm going to get a new section of brake line in here. I got some nickel copper brake line left over, so I'm going to use that. See if we can get brakes back in it at some point. I guess from sitting, the brake line let go and it all leaked out of the master cylinder, so there's no brakes. I have to re-bleed them. Actually, the whole car needs a brake job all the way around. The rotors are rusted out from sitting so long, and the drums might be all right, but we'll give it a good brake job with brand new brakes. We'll get some of those coated caliper or coated rotors, and it's you know, for rust-prone areas, even though it's not winter-driven. You know, just go ahead and do it, seeing as how it does sit during the winter months, so might help it. But the car's been sitting since 2018, so you know, it's due. It'd be due for brakes. The brakes would be so badly rusted out. Well, back at the shop here today, waiting on parts. Checked the tracking service, and apparently they're not coming today. They're delayed. So isn't that just cute? Happy birthday to me. So anyway, I'm just looking over the old pump here. I'm going to dismantle it, take it off of here. I ordered a new sending unit. The only thing I didn't get with it, Rock Auto didn't have the whole kit where you got the pump and everything. But I got the sending unit without the pump or the pulsator, but I'm going to utilize the old pulsator. It's not really something that really goes as far as I my recollection with dealing with these vehicles, it's not really something, technically it probably should be replaced, no doubt, but I'm just going to go ahead and put a new fuel pump in on a new sending unit. These fuel lines here are quite questionable, so rather than just taking a chance with it and then having to possibly take the tank back down to replace it due to a rusty line, I've decided I'm just going to, you know, put a new sending unit in the car. So anyway, we'll have a new float. Dorman, it's a Dorman part, so I never really had any problems with their fuel deliveries systems and all that stuff, but usually their electronics have been known to give me grief, which kind of concerns me, mainly because we have this, right? So this is usually measured in ohms. There's resistance, so once it gets to a certain point, that's how your gauge works, right? But I remember the last Dorman sending unit I replaced, it was in an 88 Buick, and it didn't work very well. It would work from full to about quarter of a tank, and it would stay there a couple of miles, well actually about 100 miles, and if the gauge didn't go, the gauge wouldn't go any lower. I don't know if the float was stuck or if it was just a problem with this altogether, but I've noticed that the car would run out of fuel, and I learned that the hard way, and it was a Dorman sending unit. So hopefully I don't encounter that. It could have been just maybe a stuck float, maybe it was installed improperly. I don't know, but anyway, I did encounter that once upon a moon. So but in any event, we're gonna try it once it comes. So anyway, a new strainer. Looks like there is a little bit of stuff in there, all right, now that it all dried up. So at least it was doing its job, and I got 2 new fuel filters with it. The fuel filters managed to come today. I was actually quite shocked about that. But anyway, we got the pump, we got a brand new strainer. So so once the sending unit comes, we'll install that. I still got to do this brake line. The one thing I realized with these vehicles, it's not like the old vehicles I'm used to where there's just one brake line to the rear axle and then it splits off to each particular wheel cylinder. No, actually there's a line that runs all the way over here and a line that runs all the way over on the other side. There's 4 lines total on the master cylinder. So I'm going to go ahead and replace all of it, from the master cylinder all the way back to here. There's also a line from this control arm that goes from there to a rubber hose, and it's looking quite questionable too. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that too, but I think what I'll have to do is I'll end up having to do that once this job is done and take this tire off. And then that way I'll have more clearance in behind here. It's tight. It's a tight squeeze with this control arm being right there. So we'll do that as a last resort. At least once I get the car running, I mean, then I can worry about the semantics after the fact. Alright, so the parts finally came in, which is perfect because we're supposed to get pelted with a lot of freezing rain tomorrow. So I want to get this project done. We got a few O-rings, we got a new rubber seal. Okay, same as the old one. That's your locking tang. So we got a new strainer. So what I'm gonna do is I guess I'll just use this strainer here, and we'll keep the other one as a spare, I suppose. Mind you, this one is longer, but I don't think it really much matters. It doesn't really matter. But in any event, so we got all this, all these pieces here. This goes on the bottom of the pump. This one goes around the pump, as per the old one. There's the piece that goes on the bottom. That's basically just like an insulator, so it'll sit on the bottom of this wire that plugs into the pump. And then we got the float. The float seems to stick right now, and that kind of has me worried. But you know, once it starts getting lubricated with gasoline, it might be okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and assemble this. I'm gonna use the old one here as a guide. I guess that's what that hose is for. There's a hose in here, a little chunk of 3/8 rubber hose. I guess that's for that, technically by rights. So it's also, it just goes up into here. It's just a vent by the look of it. just hooks into that and then goes through here. So just a vent, but there is like a little electrical connector that goes underneath the car too with a vacuum line. So I'm not sure, it might have something to do with emissions too, or control something from the computer. But anyhow, we're not too worried about that right now. Also, we have the old pulsator. I mean, that's okay. The new pump is on the back of the car. I still got to do a brake line on this, so I'm hoping to crawl under there and actually do that now. I got to find out where it's routed to in regards to the master cylinder. So, and I don't think, oh yes, I need a fuel filter. So let's grab this one, and I think that is pretty well it. And my magnets. I honestly opened this box yesterday. I thought that was my car for a minute. So I was very threatened. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here. I'm gonna go get that fuel tank put back together, or the sending unit back together, so we can get it ready to drop it into the tank. Okay, so unboxing our new fuel pump. So go ahead and slide on the new insulator. And see what kind of hardware we get with this, because sometimes you get new hardware with pretty well everything you buy here. Would have been probably pretty well easier if I just had bought in the kit, but they weren't available on Rock Auto for some odd reason. So yes, same paraphernalia as what we have here. Oh well, good to have as a spare. Got a little rubber hose there too for your vent and all that too. Huh. And a couple of hose clamps. All right, well, that's okay. I think we'll just keep this as spare parts. Load it back in the box, keep it in the trunk, whatever, for the next time, or whatever. Just spare parts. Anyway, so here's our pump. Go ahead and slide on the new insulator. All right, so that's pretty well that. These little nips there, they sit in the bottom of the fuel pump holder. So just like that. It just sits in there. Like, I mean, it should stay in there. I mean, as long as you don't manhandle it too much. So yeah, just basically like that. And go ahead and set them in there. All right, so now our pulsator. I'm just double checking. I don't think there's a flow line on this. I don't think it matters. Like I say, it's been several years since the last time I had one of these apart. As we can tell, it's just a see-through, right, apparatus. So I think I might double check that before I actually slap that in there. But memory serves me right, it should be fine just as is. Yeah, that's basically pretty well to it. And I'll add the fuel lines. I got new fuel lines here. I just want to put this down without having any impurities get in there. There's too much on the go here, so as we can tell. The fuel lines, I ordered some new flexible ones. I think they're back here. So yeah, we have one here with 2 female ends. I believe that was the return. And this one here, I believe is the main feed. So that'll go into the sending unit, and then this will bolt to our fuel filter. So after that, I need to go down and get some more fuel line to make this work, because I don't recall if I mentioned it in part 1 of this, but this is what they had going on. This here is not really proper. These are pneumatic fittings on here for airlines. So, I mean, yeah, it could probably work okay, but I hate things like this. Mainly because, yeah, fuel will flow through this, but the pump would have to work a little bit harder. But not only that, I have a pinhole here. When I tried to clean this up, it was no good. So I need to go get some tubing in order to connect my fuel lines to the main fuel line that goes all the way up to the engine. So that'll be for later this afternoon though. I got to get this thing in the tank. I can actually get the tank up there and worry about semantics after, well, under the vehicle, as I'll have to anyway. All right, so there's our return. I snugged it up, just went easy with it because that little O-ring, the one here, just put a little bit of engine oil on there, but I wanted to make sure that it, you know, went in there and seated in there nicely without, you know, getting it all bound up and whatnot. So I'll do the same with this one. So this will go like this, and our fuel filter will go on the end of this, just like so, and we can mount this to the tank. All right, going ahead with our fuel filter. Ended up going with the FVP. Fuel filter is a fuel filter. I mean, these were cheaper. The wicks, of course, is, you know, top quality. I know, you know, you're paying for the name more than anything, but you know what? For the price of the wicks, I ended up buying 2 of these, and I saved a couple of bucks. You know, I'm sure people will have their opinion on that particular brand. I don't know this brand at all. This is the first time I've ever heard of them. But like I say, a fuel filter is a fuel filter. So, whew, flow. It even says out right in there, so goes on that way. And just like so, I'm going to take a minute here and tighten that down. All right, so as for the fuel pump strainer, I'm going to go with the one that I purchased separately, mainly because it looks pretty well factory original, right? This one here is a little smaller. I don't imagine it really much matters, but I want to go with what I have here. Like, I mean, this one here is specifically for this car. Like, at the end of the day, I know I'm just being fussy and just strange about that, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. So if you have one of these, you order the kit with the sending unit, it comes with that. I mean, you can throw it on there, but just for, I don't know, filtration's sake, I guess, because you got, you know, a bigger one here, I'm just going to go ahead and use that. And it's because it's the same as the old one. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pop that on there. And basically, this whole apparatus here, as you see it, ready to go in. All right, so working on the fuel lines, I needed to extend it a little bit because we're missing that piece, so I have to make one. So anyway, this is just a piece of straight 3/8 piece of tubing. I got these special clamps, special tool to help crimp them down. I already have one crimped. And all you do is, once you get it on there, it can be quite tedious too. Clamp it down like that, and then just take a pair of channel lock pliers and crimp it, just like so. So I got the one on. That's as far as I could get it. You know, I tried lubricating it and trying to put it on there, but the thing with these plastic lines is you're, well, like, I already have one little kink there, right? So I'm trying to avoid that. So I'll put a clamp here on this one and get it all secure, and then I'll clamp this, and that will just simply thread into the fuel filter. So anyway, just like that. I made it a little bit longer, mainly because I want to route my fuel filter in a different location. But the thing with this plastic lines is it's not like flexible fuel hose, right? So I mean, you can't have it too long or you'll get it kinked and, you know, you'll start having performance problems, or it'll just break on you. You don't want that either. And this is our return line. All good to go. So we'll go ahead and connect this to the female end of our fuel line on the sending unit. All right, so before I tighten everything down, that one doesn't have a holder there. Before I tighten everything down and tie up all the, you know, fuel lines and whatnot and make it all neat under there, I'm going to put some fuel in it. I generally like to do this after I do a fuel tank repair. I just I pour some in there with a funnel, and I pour some in there with a funnel. That way I can tell if it's leaking at the filler pipe. And not only that, the tank is quite low. Like when I had the sending unit off, you can see fuel in there, but there wasn't a lot of it. So I'm gonna maybe dump a gallon or so in there, get the car running, see for leaks. If there's leaks, then, you know, make adjustments. And if there's no leaks, then I'll go ahead and start, you know, looming everything up so it makes it look nice and neat under there. And well, that's one thing done. And then I guess maybe tomorrow or the next day, do the brake line. Okay, with that being done, now, of course, the fuel system is going to be full of air. Full of air. So we're going to prime the fuel pump a few times and see what we got. And a general rule of thumb, if you do the key too fast, the service light won't flash, right? So if the service engine soon light flashes at least once, like it just did, then you know you got your fuel pump activated. But if you do it too quick like that and the light doesn't flash, you didn't give it enough time. All right, let's see what we got. We have engine. Do we have fuel leaks? By the look of it. At least not yet, anyway. Definitely running. Looks good. Don't see any fuel leaks up here neither. No, looks like we're good. We'll let this run for a bit. We have a little less than a quarter of a tank, so obviously we don't have a lot of fuel. Don't want to run our new pump dry neither. We'll let it run anyway. Get that battery charged up. Well, so far so good. I didn't get a chance to do the brake line, but that'll be a project for another day.